It is indeed the 23rd day of October 2023. Good afternoon and welcome. This is the great KBC, just in time for lunchtime news. My name is Bentro Njue. Lucy Maura will be our sign language interpreter for this live newscast. And a little bit later, we'll be having a very candid and interesting conversation on Cassavas on our business segment. That is something that you do not want to miss. Now, straight to the news. We begin with the KCSE examinations that kick off this week, where candidates in KBC Primary School in Borabu sub-county have received materials to help them undertake their examinations, courtesy of a well-wisher. The donations from Derrick Foundation included geometrical sets, clipboards, rulers, and pencils, which will be handy in the examinations.
As candidates across the country prepare for the national examinations, KBC Primary School candidates have received donations of examination materials to help them do their exams.
These runners will do better than what they were scoring, and they will do well. After doing well, I hope you come back and support them to join Form 1 and joining Grade 7.
We are not only concentrating on education, we also want to go out there and seek to support more.
The school's principal, Josephine Omwenga, lauded the gesture by the Derrick Foundation, urging other well-wishers to chip in and help candidates from poor households.
In our school, we don't have the latrines. They are in a pathetic condition. So if there is anybody to assist us, please assist us. Even the kitchen for the JSS, it is there, the kitchen for the school. We have lunch program. Most learners are not able to pay for the lunch, to give even maize and beans for the lunch program.
The foundation is pledging to continue assisting such schools, even as it called for security to be beefed up during the exam season for better performance. Yusufar reporting for Lunchtime News.
And from Nyamira, let's cross over to Meru County, where Meru residents appear split on the removal from office of the area Governor Kawira Mwangaza. While some of the residents who turned up to give their views on the second impeachment motion tabled before the county assembly against the governor, they agreed with the MCAs on her removal from office. Others opposed to the motion. The county legislators accused Mwangaza of committing 7 violations as grounds for her impeachment.
Kawira must go.
Where cracks have emerged from a section of the ruling United Democratic Alliance in Kakamega ahead of the National Party primaries slated for December the 9th of this year. A section of leaders from the county are citing violations of party rules by some members eyeing different positions within the party.
A section of leaders affiliated to the UDA party in Kakamega County are threatening to boycott the upcoming National Party elections slated for December 9th, citing violation of the party rules.
Jambo lingine kuhusiana na uchaguzi. Hatutakubali kura ya electronic. Kura ya simu hatutakubali. Tunataka watu wa makaratasi. Mtu ajue amepigia fulani kura na hiyo kura hesabiwe.
Tarehe 9 Disemba tutakuwa na mchaguzi ambaye itakuwa katika chama. Hata wale wenye tumechagua sahi, wenye inafaa mtusaidie katika registration. Mjue kwamba tarehe 9 kama wananchi watakukataa tena, kama wanachama watakukataa, sio wananchi. Kama wanachama watakukataa, utakuwa kiongozi.
Speaking in Iholomani constituency, Kakamega County, while receiving new members to the party, the Kenya National Union of Nurses, Seth Panyako, stated that it is essential for the National Election Board to oversee the primaries.
Hakuna uchaguzi utafanyika tarehe 9. Na ukifanyika, tuko tayari kuacha hiyo chama. Huwezi kaa ndani ya chama ambayo ati uchaguzi mtu mmoja anaendesha.
Sasa nasema tu msimame imara. Mkiona kama mtu analeta nyokonyoko, mumsemee, muombe aende mbali kabisa, si ndio?
Meanwhile, leaders drawn from Mandera County have taken a proactive stance by proposing an amendment in the National Assembly to expedite the organization of a by-election for Banisa constituency. The constituency has been without an MP since the unfortunate passing of Kulo Maalim Hassan earlier this year.
So that at least as we struggle with the amendment of the IBC Act and continue with bipartisan talks, these people, Banisa constituency, get a representative.
Mambo ya by-elections. Kwa ajili hakuna commissioners ama chairperson, ndio maana Banisa haina mbunge. Nimeleta mswada wa bunge ambayo iko tayari next week ambayo tutaipeleka ndani.
And this issue has gravely affected Banisa constituency. 7 months without member of parliament, without enjoying the benefits of development of CDF.
Member of Parliament for Mandera North, Bashir Abdullahi, emphasized the urgency of the situation, stating that further delays will cause a significant distress among the constituents. Abdiaziz Hashim for Lunchtime News.
Elsewhere, leaders from Kilifi County have pledged to come together in a push for the region's development agenda. The leaders have also thrown their weight behind the county governor Gideon Mung'aro and support his vision while executing their mandate and ensure they deliver their election pledge to Kilifi residents. Let's get more from Alvin Kaunda.
Tunajaribu kuona ni vipi tutakuwa na also very constant consultation on the issues we are doing. I know I have different roles as a governor, the MPs have different roles, but we are all leaders of Kilifi County. We are elected by the same people.
Sisi tumekuwa na kikao kizuri sana, tumejadili mambo ya Kilifi, na hii Kilifi ni kubwa kuliko sisi sote. Na sisi tukiungana tutafanikisha Kilifi.
Realign and upscale your curriculum to meet the current and future industrial needs. This is the clarion call by Industry Principal Secretary Dr. Juma Mukwana to technical, vocational education training institutes and polytechnics across the country. Dr. Mukwana wants the TVETs and polytechnics to step up research and innovation to build capacity of Kenyans as the country industrializes.
The government has identified technical vocational education training institutions and polytechnics as being key in the country's industrialization journey.
Because TVET is life. Everything from the chair, from the table you are looking at, the coat I'm wearing, the window, the painting, the building, the floor is all TVET, isn't it? So why are we looking for things, complicated things?
And as such, 28.3 billion shillings has been allocated to TVET institutions in the current budget to, among others, build the needed technical skills.
Yeah, that part of our industrial revolution will be done by the TVET. If you go to a place like Germany, you will be surprised that 70% of the people every year go to TVET.
Dr. Mukwana is challenging technical institutions to work with other stakeholders in commercializing valuable innovations and research. The new funding model in TVET institutions is expected to foster equity and access to the TVET courses by all learners. Dr. Mukwana says the government is establishing a fund to provide startup capital to small-scale traders and youth under the program dubbed Viwanda Mashinani.
Need to do short courses, practical courses. We want this place to be vibrant, to mentor the people that want to do manufacturing.
Regina Manyara reporting for Lunchtime News.
Very well, at about 10 minutes past the top of the hour, we are due for our fast break. But when we come back, I will be joined by Alan Mbole, who is the program manager, Cassava Project Self-Help Africa, discuss matters Cassavas.
Giza giza tutafanya lile tendo, washamaliza ngatembo, kinachofuata ni skendo.
Kichwa yangu si kubwa.
Shika ujaribu, ujaribu.
Kichwa yangu si kubwa. Hii kitu inaweza toshea.
Mande tu na sere tukimada repeat it. Leo tunakunywa hadi tutoke kwa news. Aya, hola.
Na imagine ilikuwa ni ngoma na ilia hapo kuna chomeka. Ni mbaya. Alafu mtu anacheka.
Wazima moto.
Hello. Niaje bro? Ni Sami Kioko ule ulikuwa unanipeleka Churchill. Hebu nikukol.
Mambo nakuwa yege. Mambo nakuwa lombo, yani mambo nakuwa bravo.
The inaugural African Football League, showcasing the best of African club football, kicks off on October 20th. Catch the matches live on KBC Channel 1 as Africa's best footballing talents compete in the inaugural league between 20th of October to 11th of November. Live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
1 year in office, 23 ministries. Time to review the journey in implementing the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. What is your assessment of the government's performance? Will they ace the performance test? Tune in to KBC News at 9 p.m. for the government.
Giza giza tutafanya lile tendo, washamaliza ngatembo, kinachofuata ni skendo.
Kichwa yangu si kubwa.
Shika ujaribu, ujaribu.
Kichwa yangu si kubwa. Hii kitu inaweza toshea.
Mande tu na sere tukimada repeat it. Leo tunakunywa hadi tutoke kwa news. Aya, hola.
Na imagine ilikuwa ni ngoma na ilia hapo kuna chomeka. Ni mbaya. Alafu mtu anacheka.
Wazima moto.
Hello. Niaje bro? Ni Sami Kioko ule ulikuwa unanipeleka Churchill. Hebu nikukol.
Mambo nakuwa yege. Mambo nakuwa lombo, yani mambo nakuwa bravo.
Welcome back to KBC Lunchtime News. We are now switching gears to matters business. And as I had alluded to earlier, is that we are going to be discussing matters cassava. Question is, when is the last time that you had a taste of cassava? All right. As you ponder about that questions, we are joined by Alan Mbole. Alan Mbole is the program manager at Cassava Project Self-Help Africa. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
And first things first, why is it that this is the second most important crop, root crop after Irish potatoes? But when you mention cassava, you not find it mostly in towns, mostly it's consumed in the rural areas. Maybe you can begin there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. And I work for Self-Help Africa as a program manager covering 6 counties in Kenya. And what I can say is that in the past, even including myself, we grew, we are here today because of cassava. But over time, because of the changing trends in climate change and also introduction of other new varieties of food crops, cassava has eventually been facing off. But in the last 1 decade, what we've been doing at Self-Help Africa that We have been now engaging farmers with other government agencies, private sector, in revamping this value chain sector. And if you can remember very well, with the recent Ukraine-Russia war, there's been quite over-reliance on maize. And you can remember actually it's a bit of people were depending so much on maize. And you could recall also at the same time that availability of food at the household table in the rural household has become a challenge. So at Self-Help Africa, we are literally working with farmers to ensure that they have food on the table. And one of the key major issues we are trying to push forward around the cassava value chain sector is that it's a climate smart crop. And I think farmers are able to adopt it in the rural households for the sake of consumption at the household level as well as for commercial purposes.
Yeah, and tell us more about your project, Cassava Project Self-Help Africa. What exactly are you doing there to ensure that, and you've more or less focused on the cassava alone? Why is that?
Thank you so much. As I've mentioned, it's a climate smart crop. And what we are currently doing at Self-Help Africa, we are looking at cassava productivity at the local level with the farmers. As basically like focusing on the entire value chain, from the farm to the table. And for us to make our interventions more, to play a critical role in the economy, we are working with farmers to ensure that productivity is going to be enhanced at the household level with the help of the Minister of Agriculture. We are also working with KALRO, KEFIS in production of high-yielding varieties, seed system for cassava. That is one of the key components we are driving forward. Number two, we are also working with farmers to make them to enable them to be more enterprising in the cassava value chain sector. We have upcoming opportunities, especially for industrial starch, as well as currently this year we are trying to push forward a flour blending regulations, which is going to inform farmers to plant more cassava. And with the flour blending regulations, it means at least in every flour that is being produced at the national level, especially maize flour, we are going to have at least 10% cassava flour blend in it.
More or less like fortifying it.
Exactly. So in the coming, I think currently we are at the final stages at the national level. I think so now moving to the National Assembly for enaction, and in the coming years from next year, we might be having fortified maize flour that has been blended with cassava.
It's a good you've observed the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, which has quite dented food security in Africa and more specifically in Kenya.
Yes.
And it's a very important food crop, talking about drought resistance.
Yes.
But unfortunately, people in Kenya have not quite embraced cassava. What are some of the steps that you're ensuring that Kenyans know about the cassava, they have embraced cassava, and they can do more or less what you're talking about, even fortifying flour with cassava?
So what we are doing currently, our focus is in the high-yielding cassava growing zones. We are focusing on the western part of Kenya and the coastal areas, that is Kilifi County. And what we are doing basically is we are now introducing the new varieties that are drought resistant, less susceptible to diseases, and more high-yielding. So what we are doing is basically we are working with the Department of Agriculture, Minister of Agriculture, KALRO, to ensure that these varieties are going to reach to farmers, and the uptake of the same is going to be observed. We are doing a lot of awareness creation, testing these technologies to the farmers at the local level, which we are quite sure, and if not even quite sure, they're actually being adopted at the local level with the new varieties, new technologies at the farm level, new farming technologies. They're being observed. Farmers are taking them up, and the trend is increasing. And I can say that in the recent past, in the last 1 year, the current cassava production is around 800,000 metric tons. And the current market demand is around 3 million metric tons. So you are seeing that gap. So I think in the next 1 year or so, with what we are doing currently, introduction of new seed varieties, we are also supporting the policy work at the national level, using other various technologies. For example, for pest and disease surveillance, we are having an app called Nuru app, working with the other value chain actors within the same space. And at least with time, we're going to see increased adoption of cassava.
Talking of increased production of cassava in the country, what is the current capacity as we stand? Because you've talked about in the last 10 years, there have been quite tremendous improvement in cassava production in the country.
Yeah. So can you repeat the question?
The capacity that we have in the country. And in the last 10 years, what have you noticed? Because you've mentioned in the last decade, we've had some tremendous improvement in the production in the country.
Currently, what I can say currently, the change that you're able to observe is the adoption of the new seed varieties and the willingness of the government, the good political goodwill to support the existing policies like the flower blending regulations, as well as the root and tuber strategy development strategies at the local and at the national level. So what we've been able to do at the national level, we pushed for the root and tuber crop strategy development strategy. We pushed it and it was enacted at the national level. Then now we are now domesticating the same at the local level. What does it mean? With the root and tuber strategy development strategy, it essentially outlines how best can cassava be improved at the local level, and how best can we farmers tap into the same in building the enterprises at the local level, so that we can have increased household income at the local level.
Indeed. And looking at cassava, how can we rope in the private sector? Because if we rope them in, I'm quite sure we're going to have a very robust market. Yes. Because looking at cassava, when I began, I said that mostly it's grown and consumed in the rural areas. Yes. How can we rope in the private sector?
I totally agree with you. Currently, we are actually depending on the private sector, because with the private sector, right from the seed input suppliers, coming all the way to machine fabricators, those who are in the agro-processing sector, we are basically relying on them, because that's where farmers are going to get their market for their increased production of cassava. So if you're able to build capacity, and I can say what we are currently doing is that we're also engaging the KIRDI on various incubation practices. We are working with the private sector, a few MSMEs with KIRDI, to see how best they can improve their value-added products. So if they are able to be build capacity through the help of KIRDI, as well as NITA in equipment fabrication, and other development partners working with the private sector, we are trying to build their capacity, and we are totally sure that the market for the farmers is going to be guaranteed. Again, the aspect of financing, we are living in tough economic times, and much of these companies are really struggling. So the aspects of access to finance is very critical. So at Self-Help Africa, we are working with microfinance institutions and even banks, and link them to MSMEs, so that they're able to access to credit facilities, so that they can ensure that their processing capacity is going to increase. Yes.
And what are some of the challenges that you have seen? Because me growing up in the rural areas, we had so many cassava.
Yes.
And as we speak now, it's more or less like a lot of people have abandoned this crop, because of the diseases that are there, and some people are looking at a product that can boost their income, as opposed to more or less improving the food security. What are some of the challenges that you've noticed in cassava farming in this region?
In these regions, farmers are still using the traditional varieties. So the production is very low, as opposed to what we are currently doing now. We are now pushing for the improved varieties. We are working with the CALRO, with the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. We are also working with another organization called MEDA. We are all in the same space. We are trying to ensure that we are developing high-quality seeds using semi-autotrophic hydroponics technology, single-node cutting technologies, single-node cutting, double-node cutting, and the varieties are going to be adopted. And I think that is what we can do.
And you've talked about hybrid seeds. I can tell you for free that 2 weeks ago I was at home and I had some cassavas, but half of them had already been infected by a I think it's a fungi or a bacteria.
Yes.
And you've mentioned hybrid seeds. Tell us more about these seeds and where somebody can find them, and especially farmers in the rural areas.
Okay, thank you so much. Currently, what we are doing currently is the current technologies we are trying to push, like the semi-autotrophic hydroponics technology. This technology is for the ITA, and ITA has been working in Nigeria for so many years. So it's basically like they're now cleaning the seed to have a more clean seed, high-yielding variety seed that is also short-maturing seed varieties. So this technology is like the semi-autotrophic hydroponic technology. We already have existing seed varieties with Calro. So what we are doing basically is we are working with Calro and ITA. Now, ITA is building capacity of Calro in the sector of seed system development. Now, through Calro, we have more of like an implementation architecture, whereby with Calro, the seed is being produced at Calro and propagated at Calro. Then this seed is now linked to farmers. So we have some farmers where we are doing a bit of seed multiplication. And what we are currently doing is that through Calro, this seeds are able to be shared through seed entrepreneurs at the local level. Then from there, there's quite a lot of awareness about the availability of the existing new varieties of seed.
Talking of awareness,
yes,
you are organizing a Cassava Expo. Tell us about that as we wrap up.
So the Cassava National Conference Expo is basically where we are bringing on board the farmers, the input suppliers, equipment fabricators. We're also talking about bringing in policymakers, government agencies, the private sector, just to come on board and we just look at the nitty-gritties, the problems, the solutions that currently exist within the cassava solution sector. We are hoping this particular platform, all the value chain actors are going to benefit. They are going to unlearn and learn new technologies in that particular forum.
Yeah, and I'm quite sure a lot of farmers are watching, so tell them where, the when, and when will it be?
So thank you so much. This event is at Safari Park Hotel, and from tomorrow, 24th to 26th, and the registration is still ongoing, and we are welcoming farmers to come on board so that they can come in and learn more about cassava value chain.
And how can you change the attitude of Kenyans? You know, as I've said, cassava mostly is consumed in the rural areas. How do we change so that, because if it's being sold quite in big towns, this is a big market, and especially in big towns, big market. How could you change the attitude?
Now, the attitude is going to be seen with the current value-added products that are being produced by farmers and the MSMEs. So even the farmers we are working with, they're producing even cassava flour. They're producing even cassava chips. So these products, if they're going to get a bit of certificate, they're going to be certified by KEBS. Most of the population around major towns will be able to access these particular products. So the products are already in the market. And I'm just telling the Kenyans to look at most of these shelves. We have cassava products.
And cassava should be actually adding on the food security, especially having challenges that we cannot do anything about, and especially in the Russia-Ukraine war.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Alan Mbole. Alan Mbole is the program manager at Cassava Project Self-Help Africa there, and they are holding an expo beginning tomorrow at the Safari Park Hotel. If you're interested in cassava farming and knowing about the value addition and challenges that are there, varieties that are there as well, make a date with them for more. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on, will chatbots make lawyers obsolete? This is the question the industry is facing as artificial intelligence moves to democratize the profession. Wakili AI is the latest entrant to this crowded field. Developed by a Kenyan legal and information expert, the chatbot seeks to help Kenyans with answers to legal questions. Alan Aoko breaks down the Wakili chatbot.
Judicial systems to get justice. This is according to a survey by the judiciary. Kenyans say their inability to get justice in court is because they cannot afford legal fees for a lawyer, don't understand the legal process and procedures, and delays in resolving cases. Naftali Oboni's family encountered similar difficulties when his father was unexpectedly terminated from his job. The IT practitioner developed an artificial intelligence tool called Wakili, meaning lawyer, which is designed to help Kenyans pursue justice by providing information on legal matters and guiding them on how to access the legal system.
Kill.org is basically a bot. It's a chat bot. This is where you can go if you have any issues. It might even not be directly law related, but it might be related to things that you face in society. And you want to know what is your course of action and you need guidance. It understands all laws in Kenya, meaning whether it's customary, whether it is civil, criminal, whether it is property, land, all those laws, it already understands them. And it doesn't list you the laws, it interprets for you.
Launched just in October 2023, more than 2,800 people have engaged with the Wakili AI tool, seeking guidance on property ownership procedures, gender-based violence cases, inquiries, and contract drafting for employers. James Muindi, a software developer, is one of the many users benefiting from Wakili. He is using AI to draft client agreements, which is more cost-effective than hiring legal services.
This has kind of helped us now formalize all our agreements with our clients, so that now, before we begin any software development project for a client, we're able to have a draft contract, a draft non-disclosure agreement agreed, and they feel at ease as a client because they know now the process is formal, and on our end it has also now reduced the costs.
Some lawyers have voiced concerns that incorporating AI into the profession, much like in other fields, may lead to reduced income and a drop in the number of people seeking their services.
Research consumes most of lawyers' time because research is based on what cases you're handling and what particular area of the law. This narrows it down. Once you ask that question, it narrows it down. You don't have to start Broadway and then narrow down. It narrows it down for you.
The developers aim to incorporate a voice recognition system into the program to make it accessible to millions of Kenyans. The additional system will enable those who don't understand English or Swahili seek the legal information in their native languages. Alan Auko, Lunchtime News.
Further afield, billionaires should face a minimum tax rate, according to a report which found out that some of the world's mega wealthy are paying little to no tax. The EU Tax Observatory suggested a minimum 2% tax rate on the world's billionaires would raise $250 billion annually. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines from across the world.
There are around 2,500 billionaires with combined wealth of $13 trillion. The EU Tax Observatory says most people pay a higher rate than the super rich, who it said are able to use complex business structures for avoidance. The report by EU Tax Observatory, part of the Paris School of Economics, examined how successful efforts to ensure individuals and companies pay their fair share have been over the past 10 years. The report says billionaires are able to get away with paying tax rates equal to 0% to 0.5% of their wealth due to the frequent use of shell companies to avoid income taxation. Meanwhile, China has launched an investigation into Taiwan-based iPhone maker Foxconn. The Global Times, citing anonymous sources, says officials conducted tax inspections at Foxconn businesses in 2 Chinese provinces. Foxconn says it will cooperate with the investigation. The company is the biggest maker of iPhones for US tech giant Apple and is one of the largest employers in the world. Finally, the cost of UK state borrowing is close to a 15-year high, levels seen only twice since the global financial crash. A report by the Institute for Fiscal Studies suggests that the amount the UK government has to pay to borrow money for 10 years via its benchmark 10-year bonds rose to more than 4.7% in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the pandemic-era supply chain difficulties. A report by the Institute for Fiscal Studies suggests that inflation hit highs in the UK after energy prices rose in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the pandemic-era supply chain difficulties. Frederick Muki for Lunchtime News.
Moving on, healthcare workers in Busia have called off their strike. The strike, which started Tuesday last week, was suspended after an agreement was struck between the county government and union members. Addressing journalists in Busia, the Deputy Governor, Arthur Odera, said the county was making all efforts to address the healthcare workers' concerns.
Busia Deputy Governor Arthur Odera, who is also the County Executive Committee member for Health, said the county government is making every effort to address the concerns of healthcare workers and resolve the issue of drug shortages, which has been a long-standing challenge. All health officials who were on study leave have also been recalled. Healthcare workers in Busia have expressed their readiness to engage the county leadership in conversation that will yield a lasting solution to the issues that have been ailing the sector.
Elsewhere, residents of Nyatike have urged the national government to accelerate the processing and issuance of title deeds in the area. They say getting land titles for their lands would shield them from persistent harassment from people who want to acquire their land illegally.
The decision by government to designate approximately 2,494.95 hectares of their land as forest land has these residents worried. This decision, they fear, may result in the potential eviction of several families from what they say is their ancestral land. Nyatike constituency member of parliament Tom Odege urged the national government to accelerate the processing and issuance of title deeds.
Land there belongs to the community. Our people who are staying there are rightfully there, and nobody will pretend that I'm still the MP of this area.
Odege urged locals to remain vigilant, saying he had petitioned the National Assembly to consider pushing for the degazettement of the official gazette notice.
I have a petition in Parliament where we have petitioned the government through Parliament. We want those who are staying in that land to be given title deeds. The process is ongoing, and Parliament is in the process of delivering their report and finding.
On June 13, 2023, the government officially designated 61,165 acres of Makalda land for forest purposes through a gazette notice. The gazette notice, issued by the Environment and Forestry Cabinet Secretary Soipan Tuya, describes the land in question as approximately 2,494.95 hectares located 25 kilometers to the northwest of Migori Township in Migori County. For Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mutai.
Still on land, let's cross over to the coastal city of Mombasa, where a section of residents in Mgongeni area, Mombasa County, now claim they are being threatened with eviction by people alleging to be agents of absentee landlords. The locals claim the purported agents have conspired with some local administrators to harass them and extort money from them as protection fee and want the government protection.
A land tussle pitting a section of residents of Mgongeni in Frere Town Ward and private developers. The residents claim that they have received threats from powerful individuals who are planning to evict them from what they say is their ancestral land.
Mimi niliingia hapa 1971 mwezi wa 7 tarehe 17 nikanunua kiwanja hii nyumba mahali iko. Nimeishi hapa, nimeoa hapa, nimezaa hapa. Na nimeenda kotini, ikifika kotini bwana, siku ikifika ya kesi faili zinapotea. Siku ikifika ya kesi faili zinapotea. Utapata wapi haki?
Patricia Mwoki, who owns a school in the area, narrates how the said individuals harassed, forcefully evicted her, and later locking out more than 320 pupils in our school, including 20 orphans from accessing the school compound.
Singeweza kuchukua any hatua because I had no any agreement with this guy. Alikataa kuniandikia agreement na ikaishia hivyo hivyo. So there is nowhere I could go ahead, and the community didn't come in. Maana ningepata the community wangeni support that time, we could have gone ahead. Lakini community now ilimuogopa maana he was working everywhere na askari.
Mzee Maneno Heri and Anthony Mbele Mwagunja are also seeking to reclaim their land and houses, which were allegedly repossessed by the suspected agents and later sold through auctioneers.
1984 nikaja nikakuta nyumba yangu imebandikwa karatasi inauzwa kwa auction. Na mimi sidaiwi.
They are now calling on President William Ruto to intervene by ensuring the government restrains suspected absentee landlords and their cronies from interfering and intimidating or harassing innocent Kenyans.
Tunataka serikali ichukue hatua. Na hivi sasa kuna kikundi ambacho tumeenda kotini na tuna kesi naye. Kwa hivyo tunataka haki itendeke.
Timothy Kipnusu for Lunchtime News.
Moving on, parents with children with disabilities have been urged to ensure they acquire birth certificates for their school-going children to ensure they are registered for the National Examination Council numbers NEMIS. Majority of students with disability who lack these crucial documents are being locked out from key opportunities like capitation from government.
Despite a majority of students living with disabilities being enrolled in special needs schools, this figure is reducing daily due to lack of school fees. The head teacher of a special school in Chamakanga, Vihiga County, insists that these students have the potential to acquire skills that will enable them to be self-reliant if they can access education, but there's need for them to acquire their birth certificate so that they're not locked out of available opportunities.
Capitation of schools depends on the learners' enrollment and more so the number on the NEMIS. So we are really finding it hard. We go begging here and there.
The head teacher also called on the government to intervene in finding these students a market for their products.
So if we exit a learner who has acquired a skill of this kind, this learner will be socially acceptable and he will also have time to acquire his own money.
Huku anafanya kazi yoyote, lakini kama ako nyumbani, ananisaidia kila kitu. Kila kulima, kupiga, anajua.
Similar sentiments were echoed by the director of Invest and Grow Sacco, a teachers organization, who also called upon parents to equip their children with suitable skills.
Wawakumbatie, wawapende, waonyeshe njia. Hawa watoto watakuwa watu wa manufaa katika taifa letu la Kenya.
Kasichana Masha, Lunchtime News.
Now, oral hygiene is vital to an individual's overall health and well-being. Kenswed's Oral Health Outreach, in partnership with a Swedish-based oral health company, Tepe, has distributed toothpaste and toothbrushes to schools in Kajiado West with an aim to sensitize them on the teeth-related problems and the need to better their oral hygiene. The clinic's community dentist, Damaris Odulwa, and the hospital's lead doctor, Joyclyn Mwangi, said that under Kenswed organization, they will offer various free dental services to community members. Osupuko Primary School head teacher Benson Nzioki praised the organization for the initiative, saying dental problems are a major issue for students in the area.
Our teeth are the hardest things we have in the body. Do you know that? It's so hard to break a tooth. And yet, when we get cavities, imagine the hardest thing we have in our mouth, even in our body, can be broken down by bacteria.
One of the things we are focusing on as a unit is structures we can put in place to prevent occurrence of these dental problems, especially among our students and even the rest of the children in the communities.
From that report, let's now have a look at the international news segment.
Israel bombarded Gaza with more airstrikes on Monday ahead of an anticipated ground operation into the besieged Palestinian enclave as the United Nations warned that civilians were running out of places to seek shelter. The Israeli Defense Ministry says the campaign could take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. At the end, there will be no more Hamas. The ministry also hinted at a ground attack, but says before Hamas meets the tanks and infantry, it will know the shells from the Air Force. In Gaza, another 14 aid trucks arrived on Sunday, but the UN warns that much more is needed. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees says the situation in southern Gaza is so bad and people are returning north despite Israeli military warnings. Israeli aircraft also struck southern Lebanon overnight, and Israeli troops clashed with Palestinians in occupied West Bank.
In sports, Barcelona's hope of catching up with Real Madrid at the summit of the La Liga table were kept alive after Marc Guiu scored the winner 33 seconds into his senior debut to give Barcelona a 1-0 home win over Athletic Bilbao. In Italy, Juventus edged 10-man AC Milan 1-0 at the San Siro to deny the hosts from going top of Serie A.